What's up, y'all? It's Omega Kao. This is Omega Launch, and this is Season 2, Episode 9. Today I'm here with
Chuck Dodge, Mr. Enthusiasm.
Alright, so today is the Entrepreneur segment. And what is it that you do?
Well, I'm an inspirational speaker, and it's just a life, my life's work, and I just, it wasn't anything that I set out to do, but it's something that's evolved, and I think that's the way many lives are. You do something, it's just trial and error, and entrepreneurship is just the path that I've chosen versus being an employee. Nothing wrong with being an employee, because that's where we start. That's how we learn about who we are and what we want. It helps us see our talents and our abilities and our strengths. And then we go, I think I could do that better than that. Or better than, and that's how entrepreneurs begin, because they have an idea of maybe improving on something. Not that the person is a bad person, but it's the thing, it's the activity.
Well, let's got a couple questions for you.
Let's do it.
What made you want to become an entrepreneur? Like the initial thing about it.
I had a friend. I was working for the state of Michigan, and my background was computer operations as a supervisor. That was my background, and data processing early in the mid 60s and early 70s when I was in the Air Force. But I was unhappy, and I didn't know why I was unhappy, and I had no mentors. So if you're listening and you want to be an entrepreneur, get a mentor or several mentors and listen to them, because they will give you their way. You got to develop your way though, but the ideas are phenomenal. And a friend of mine came up to me and said, Chuck, you have a good attitude. He was in fundraising at the time, and I said, come with me, come work with me, and I did. And so in July of 1980, I quit my job at the state of Michigan. Now, here's what happened. I had 8 years with the state. 2 more years I would have gotten half retirement. But I felt, I'll be dead in 2 years if I stayed here. I had this feeling of, I'm not competent in the work at that time. And so I resigned, and I was married at the time, and I'm not sure, I don't remember if my wife, I don't know if I think she supported it at some level. My father-in-law didn't.
Right.
Because he told me I'd never amount to anything. Second time I had heard that once when I was in a foster home when I was 12. I'm now 32. So I did that.
Right.
And I did not know this. No one told me this. I went from an employee mindset to being an entrepreneur. Totally different. You don't really want to do that if you don't have to. And I didn't have to, but I thought, I've had this feeling over here that I wasn't adequate in the job. Within 3 months, I was financially bankrupt, spiritually bankrupt, and I ended up leaving my family. My son was 6 at the time. And then from 81 to 91, Khalil, I had over 30 jobs. So we can pursue this at any level you want to. But it wasn't a decision it was based on instinct, if you will. And I just got to move forward. Not the best decision thought through, but it's what I did.
Yeah, I see you had to follow a lot of your heart to get to where you got.
Yeah. That and there was a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns, and I wouldn't change any of it for anything, because now that's my story, and I get to share that with other people now, and if I can help it, all you got to do is stay with. You've got to get clear. Clarity is of the utmost importance. I didn't really know that, but you can teach clarity, and you can gain clarity as you go through life. Clarity is, right now you're clear about something, I'm clear about something, and when you get through that, you'll get more clear and more clear and more clear, and then one day it'll be like, oh yeah, that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
So in your story you said that you had to switch your mindsets from entrepreneur from working.
Yes.
What would you say that like the change is between that? What the difference between an entrepreneur mindset and a regular working mindset?
Discipline, and treat your entrepreneurship just as you would like your job in terms of the content of it. You know, how you do anything is how you do everything. So there's elements to a job. You have to get up at a certain time. You have to be someplace, do a certain amount of work. But the difference is somebody's telling you and maybe micromanaging you.
Right.
As an entrepreneur, just embrace those same things. The same similar habits. Now, you might, instead of working 8 hours straight, you might work 4 in the morning, 4 late at night. You get to call the shots on when you work.
Right.
But just embrace some of the tasks that are involved in the job, but knowing you're the boss, and if things aren't working out, would you fire you? So you can, or would you keep you hired every day? It's like, yeah, I did a good job yesterday. I think I'll hire me again tomorrow. Right. So I did not know that, but I do now. Good question, by the way.
Man, that's a good answer. All right, I got another question.
Okay.
What steps did you take to begin your business? I feel like that's very important because most people don't know where to start.
Let's take two sides to that. On the speaking side, I started in the schools in '94. I put together some information on personal development, power of thought, power of the spoken word. There were 2 movies that were out that I took some things from. One was The Lion King, and The Lion King to me was a very spiritual movie. In the beginning, when Scar kills his brother his brother Mufasa, that makes Simba the king of the jungle.
Right.
And Scar lied to Simba and said, "You killed your dad. You got to go away." Because that made Scar the king of the jungle. But he lied to Simba, and I thought, what do scars do? What do lies do to people? Yeah, they scar you.
Right.
So Simba goes away, and he's out. He's the king of the jungle, and he's out playing around with Pumbaa and Timon, and he's just having a whole lot of fun.
Right.
And you talk about a relationship, and Nala, Simba's girlfriend, said, "You got to come back," and Simba said, "I can't come back." Well, it took Rafiki, the spiritual advisor, to lead him to the pond. And there were 3 things that were said when Simba looked in the reflection. Then he looked up and saw Mufasa, and everyone. The three things that were said by Mufasa to Simba, really important. You've forgotten who you are. Look inside. You're much more than what you've become. Now remember, he was the king of the jungle, but his uncle Scar had lied to him, and he was just out there, just, if you will, just distracted. And then when he came back, he took his role. So, and the other one was Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump, I remember I put together in 1994 a program for the education program in the public schools in Durhand. And there's a lot of inspiration here, but one of the parts in there is when I think maybe 4 says, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get unless you buy a certain chocolate. Now, if you get the assorted,
right,
you don't know what you're going to get. But if you buy cherry cordials, you got a whole box of cherry cordials, or turtles, you got a whole box. So I thought, yes, you know what you're going to get, but you've got to claim it first.
Right.
So I just took that on, and I started talking about it, and I just liked the entire movie, and so those 2 movies just started me with some information, and then I just talked to. I gave over 60 class presentations during '94 and '95, and I just go to the school and say, "Hey, what teacher would like to have maybe the day off or the hour off. I'd like to just come in and present. And I talked, and it was fun. And so that's how I really got started. I just put some things together and just went.
So you say it was more about finding yourself first and then knowing exactly what you want out of this.
Yeah, and also finding, what do I have? What do I have to share? Right. And I realized, and I talked about my foster home experiences, and I was transparent, but I had fun. I had some exercises for the kids to do, and I enjoyed it.
Right.
So that's how I got started.
So did you quit your job first before you found out all this?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was
Some people scared to make that leap of faith.
You know, that's a great observation, and I mean, I just I didn't even think. I have a good. Remember, in 1980, I have a good personality, and he planted an idea, but that idea took, what did it take, from 1980 to 15 to 20 years to really develop. So that's a great lesson too. You might have an idea, act on it, but don't, and you might get distracted, because I did. Remember, from 81 to 91, I had over 30 jobs. I was a General Motors foreman in Wentzville, Missouri in middle 86 through 87 with a company called Service Master. But I was still teaching. I've always been teaching. I didn't. My Latin teacher in 1964 told me that you could be a teacher. She spotted that within me. So along the way, you'll have clues as to who are you, what do you want to do, and sometimes you've got to stop. No, Khalil, you're just a youthful. You've been on the planet 2 decades, so you could stop, but you probably don't have enough empirical evidence to really have people say, well, in another 10 years you'll have a whole bunch of experiences, and they'll go, and then you can see, oh yeah, but you've really evolved into it. For me, I now know that people were looking out for me.
Right.
You can call it God, you can call it angels, you can call it whatever you want to, but we're not alone. But we don't know how to pay attention at times. We don't, our awareness.
Right.
Our awareness is a little weak. So if there's one muscle you could work on is become aware, look around, and keep a journal.
That's a good point.
Write things down, and that'll help you see. Now I look back now and I can go, wow, it's just like the wow factor. It's like they were there. I didn't know what to do them. So as you go through life, you'll learn how to All
right. So some of your stories, you already said some of the hardships you went through. But what will you say the hardest thing you went through with the journey of entrepreneurship? And how did you get through?
The hardest thing that I've went through, I would say, you asked me earlier about personal relationships. I would say, if I had it, I'm just a hypothetical.
Right.
If I had it to do over again, I would have waited on that and focused on business and got that started, got that up and running, and then do the relationships. Because as soon as nothing wrong with the relationships, but the person you're with requires time. And you only have so many hours in the day to work on, or to put effort into the relationship. But we're not going to work on a relationship, but effort there and your business. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't attract someone that would be right with you. I didn't. I was all over the place. It was like when I was, again, digressing to the foster home experience. That was my belief system, always being shoved, taken here, taken there, and I grew up with that. And that was my journey. That was my belief about me. I got to go. If things get too good with a relationship, I got to mess that up somehow, because my mom was always leaving us. And your mother, for guys, your mother is the most influential woman in your life when you're growing up.
Right.
And if she's just letting you go into foster homes, then you catalog that and you go, okay, mom is. So if I get into a relationship, that woman is going to leave me. So I'll just mess it up before she leaves me. That I lived that out a lot, but single-minded focus, and as well as the effort that's required to keep that relationship alive and well. So it can be done. It can be done. I did it differently. So
I'd say the hardest thing is pretty much unlearning traumas, in a way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the more I study, and I study the brain, and I enjoy watching Dr. Phil, because I think trauma has impacted a lot of us, and we don't even realize you can get good at going through trauma. There's different degrees of trauma.
Yeah.
And as a kid, you can be traumatized in a way that, that's just what we do around here. I remember coming home one day, and I was in 5th or 6th grade, and the caseworker was there on the porch waiting for me, saying, hey, I understand you've been stealing. I kind of lied and said, yeah, small things. She said, well, we've got to put you in a foster home. Don't remember where I went. And then later on, I got thinking, how did she know I was stealing? Well, my mom probably told her, called her up and said, hey, Chucky's stealing. He's got to go to a foster home. So my mom was like that. And then she'd want us back. And so it was believe me, I'm not dissing on my mom. Oh, no. I don't know what her life was like.
Right.
All I know is that I'm glad she was my mom, because without her, I wouldn't be here today, Khalil.
All right.
So one of the things I do is I'm grateful for my entire life. So yes, the trauma but here's the thing: we can create new neurons in our brain because it's neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
So we can heal. We can. I don't know if we need a brain scan to heal, but we can still do the work. There's a lot of books on the healing the brain, whether it's Daniel Amen or Dr. Caroline Leaf or Norman Deutsch. We can change it. So, and I'm doing some of that because I don't know, and all that trauma through the 80s, the 30 jobs, lived in 17 different places, 4 or 5 relationships. That's probably trauma.
That's a lot.
but now I look at it and I go, I could, but life shifts. Now it's the story, and to help people say, hey, please settle in. Oh, man.
I would say that is one of the hardest things, because most people don't want to look at the problem in themselves.
Yeah.
They will always want to look out.
Yeah, and I remember before we started here, I said this, and whoever's watching this, remember that whatever happens in your life, think of it this way: nobody ever does anything to you. They always do it for you. Because to me, that's what they showed up to do, something for you to take a look at something. Like, how are you going to respond to that? It's a correction. It's a course correction, if you will, in life. So no one does it to us, and I had plenty of times I thought, how could you do that to me? I've probably I might have done that too, but no, they did it for me. And when you think about it, yes, because then you've got to, all right, what's the truth here? What do I need to do now? What's the next step? So.
All right. So what would you say the pros of having your own business are?
Oh, just, you get up when you're through sleeping. You don't get up because the alarm clock's going up. And it depends on where you're at in your entrepreneurship. Some people, you hear millionaires or billionaires, they get up at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. But the point is you can get up when you feel like it.
Right.
And means you've got your time freedom. It's your time, and you get to decide on how you spend it. Invest it during the day. We all have 24 hours.
Right.
And you get to decide who you want to talk to, and so you get time freedom. And then we don't usually do things without wanting to have financial freedom. And it's the financial freedom that really allows you to have, if you will, more time, because none of us really knows how to do everything, but there's always somebody that knows how to do something, so you can bring them onto your team and hire them to do the things that you're not good at, because you've earned thousands and thousands of dollars. So time freedom and money freedom, or time and money freedom, and whatever you want to do, make a difference. For me, I just love maybe walking downtown, saying hi to people, and maybe giving them some money. That's just fun. And what can I do for you? Is there anything? How can I serve you today? That's a mantra that I hold on to often. How can I serve you today? And sometimes it's just a kind word.
Right.
So that's, the benefits are numerous in terms of what you can do, and you can continually create things that are important to you. And it doesn't matter if people like that or not. You do, or I do. I like what I do, and I like how I do it. Now, I'm always looking to improve on it. So if someone says, "Hey, would you be interested in doing it this way? Do I have to give up this?" I'm not willing to give up this, but I like that idea. I'll put in the ideas that I feel. Yeah, that's a good idea. So I'm not closed to any ideas. Because the universe or the marketplace will show you how to improve.
Right.
And you can put something out there and go, I wonder if they'll like it. So then you don't do that again. So you really get to know who you are also. So, but probably the time and money that frees people up, and then you can reset your goals to whatever you want.
I don't think people understand how much time is important. Like your own time. Being able to use it for what you want to. Doing what you have to do.
Yeah. And then of course, being in network marketing, time, then you get to help other people gain their time freedom, and then you get the leverage from them to expand yourself, and it's just a beautiful thing on how what you can create, and now I'm working on legacy. What do I want to leave? What do I want to leave here when I'm gone? And I know one thing. I saw this business card. It was shaped like a headstone, and this was in 1979. And on it said, this guy was a funeral director, by the way.
Okay.
and on it said, I wasn't finished. Okay. I'll never get it done. We don't want to get it done. We just want to get, do what we can for the amount of time we're here. And one day we'll breathe out and we won't breathe back in. That'll be our last day. And that on one note, live every day.
Right.
As if it were your last day. And that's a challenge, because sometimes we'll go, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, I mean, how many people that died this morning that said they would do it yesterday, they'd do it tomorrow? Don't take that for granted. As best as you can. Have a sense of urgency about your life. Now, Khalil's 20, I'm 73. There's a good chance that he's got about 80 years to go. That's if he goes to 100, okay?
Well, 79, I just turned 21.
Oh, okay, 21. I apologize. Time moves on here. But he's got 60 to 80 years. Just roll. I'm at 73, so
Yeah.
30. My timeline is out here. I'm in the last third of my life, and that's okay. So anyway, just have a sense of urgency for living, and love your life. Every day, I love my life. I really love my life, and it doesn't matter what's going on. I love my life, and you tell yourself that over and over. That's the new soundtrack for I love my life. So there you have it, my friend.
Yeah.
Anywhere?
You can tell that you don't live with really no regrets at all about anything, pretty much.
No, there aren't any regrets, because a regret is something that is created when you thought you could have done something better. Well, that was back there. If I could have done it better back then, I would have.
Right.
Now I'm going to look here and go, oh man, that, we're in the present moment. You cannot, just leave it alone.
Can't do nothing about it.
No, there's a song by Paul Anka called My Way. And in the song he says, regrets I've had a few, but then again too few to mention. Well, we're not going to mention any of them, but there may have been some things that may have, you just contemplate. If I would have done that, might have been a little, but it's just a little mind game that I play sometimes. But I don't stay there. It's just, okay, we got to come here and do this, because it's step by step. So.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
So does being an entrepreneur limit your time to have a love life? I know you touched on this a little bit, but
No, I think what being an entrepreneur, it really opens up the field, because most likely as an entrepreneur you're going to really promote yourself, and you're going to have your brand is going to take you way out into the marketplace. And sometimes in relationships, guys tend to I got to make this happen. I got to force it. You don't. No, you don't need to force it, because when you're working with energy, frequency, and vibration, it's not about how the person looks. It's about how the person is. And all of you have probably had a situation where you go, man, I have a gut feeling. I don't really like that person. It's a gut feeling.
Right.
Well, that's a vibration that's the person's putting off, and you're feeling it, and you go, okay, and pay attention to those feelings, the vibration, and then the frequency. If you're listening to the radio and you're listening to country, that's a frequency. And you go, I want to go to rock. So that's another frequency. But you can't listen to country and rock usually at the same time. And that's the way it is with people. We need to get on the same frequency, but sometimes we get in a hurry. And we pay attention to the physical versus the, if you will, the soulness of the person, or what frequency are they on? It's like I shared a story with you earlier. That it's a frequency. It's like, okay, boy, it's nice to get to know you, nice conversation, but I've got to go, and because it won't last.
right.
So the frequency and the energy. So yes, you can have it. You really can have it any way you want to, as long as you're really clear on that. The relationship, though, I think that's that's something you can have it. I'll just say it that way. Just use good judgment.
Right.
and pay attention.
I think you made some good points about the relationships, because most people don't really know about frequencies and vibrations. Like, most people think it's just if I get along with this person, rather than your actual soul, like being connected with this person.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really takes knowing you and understanding that. It doesn't mean that you couldn't date someone and all the while, if you don't know, and when I was younger, I used to call them practice relationships. And I had a lot of practice relationships. and a lot of young people have practice relationships. It's like Dr. Phil says when he's talking to a young couple on stage, he said, that person is the right one for you right now. Right now. And you can tell that some of the folks there, it's not going to last. There's no lasting power because they're too busy bickering. And to be able to heal all of that, it could happen. But the law of attraction, not the physical attraction, but the law of attraction itself in the universe, energy, frequency, and vibration, you can attract it. You and me, we're not doing this by mistake. This is a divine assignment here today. We're doing this. Right. When we first met, hey, I got the podcast. Sure. So this is a divine assignment, and that's really what we're looking for, even in a relationship. That divine assignment, and that's loftier than just pretty good looking chick over there.
Yeah, definitely.
That mean you can't check it out, but just use discernment and how the person relates to you, and vice versa.
That's a good point right there. And this is a question that I feel like every entrepreneur is asked. Would you ever go back to a regular job or a 9 to 5?
Not as an employee. No, there needs to be, to me, that's a great question because you got me thinking about this. There's a progression. Most people start out as employees. Now, there are some people that are the entrepreneurs, the person that started the business. But most of us are going to start out as an employee, and many people stay there.
Right.
But a few go, no, this isn't for me. So you start as an employee, then you progress into entrepreneurship because you see you want something different, and you know that you would do it differently. So you gravitate to that, and then you figure out how to work it, or you gravitate into it, and because you can do it in stages. You don't have to do it all at once. Some people just go, hey, I got to cut this off. I'm full steam ahead.
Right.
I did that, and then it crashed, but I got my lessons from it. So I wouldn't go back only to do an undercover, be an undercover boss. I would do that, but no. You see, here's Khalil. Here's what. Remember this: a mind stretched to a new idea can never go back.
Right.
You just can't. The mind won't let you. It'll be like, no, this is weird. Right. You talk about a frequency that would be out, or a vibration that wouldn't be. You'd be like, no. So
you wouldn't have as much freedom as much.
No. And the part is, there's nothing wrong with being an employee. We need to make sure that sometimes when you get into some of these meetings, the employees are sometimes talked down to it, and we don't want to ever do that, because it's like Martin Luther King said, whatever you do, do it with your whole heart. Doesn't matter if you're I think he goes through some things, a shrub on the side of the hill. Be the best shrub there is. I mean, he's got a nice little poem that he does. So we want to honor everybody, the garbage truck driver or the custodian in the school.
Right.
All work is honorable. It's just that God has put in us a purpose, and our role as entrepreneurs is to help people discover that. Some people they want to stay put,
right,
and that's okay. Well, we're going to go for the folks that they've got that burning desire inside. They don't know what to do with it. So,
right.
So we need employees and we need entrepreneurs. So
yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and that's okay. You just have to know that it's not for you, or that it is for you.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to fail or anything with this, because it's going to happen no matter what. You're going to fail.
Absolutely.
You're going to fail before you succeed.
And that's the trial and error of stuff. And just see it as, oh, I'm not doing that again. But then you do it again and you go, I do a lot of reading. And Marianne Williamson, in her book, Return to Love, she says, there's one thing worse than saying, God, I blew it. And God, I blew it again. So you just, the one thing, when things don't go well, the one thing you do not want to do is to judge yourself.
Right.
And to beat yourself up. Because that's the very thing you needed. I mean, it's like, we could go on and on, but I think we've got some good stuff here, and the questions you asked were just incredible. It really got me thinking about some of those things differently. I liked it. I really do. So
what do you think that we helped them with today? Overall, what do you think we helped them with overall?
Well, I think the first thing is mindset. Mindset that's where it starts. And the power of thought, then you put it, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, what do they really want us to get? Everything starts with a thought. So what is it? Are you doing what you want to do? And if you're not, then just play with the tissue of your mind. Write some thoughts down and start to just maybe act on the thoughts.
All right. And
then do a little trial and error. Do it safe if you have to. If you feel like you want to quit your job and just go in headstrong, do that. But the mindset of the employee and the entrepreneur is different. But that's where it would start. And then and make sure that you have people around you. This is really important. People around you that support you.
Definitely.
If someone says, "What makes you think you can do that?" Run from them. Love them. Love them. Tell them you love them on the way past them. That was the one thing. I wish I would have had more support, more mentoring, but I didn't, and that was my path. Oh, and by the way, people will mentor you. Businessmen, businesswomen, men, they will tell you, share with you what they did, and then find out how you can tweak it and do your thing. So that's it. So we got mindset, we've got write some things down, and then also create your team of people, your mastermind group that will help you and support you, and not say, hey,
discourage you.
There you go, discourage you. I like that.
Yeah. Well, if you guys don't take anything from this, I want you guys to realize how youthful he is for 73. Most people get older and they start to regress instead of progress on like the soul level. Like, that's the one thing I always liked. I like that you always were youthful.
Thank you. And you know what keeps me youthful?
What?
Hanging around the youth.
That's a good point.
Well, you're part of my circle of people that if you want to be old, hang around old people. I mean, wait a minute, I'm old. Yeah. No, other old people. Anyway.
All right, guys, that's the Mega Launch for today, and we're out.